All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Safeonomics. Hopefully, you were able to join us on the previous episode, and you'll know that Dorothy and I have worked together over the years and stayed in touch, and we came up with this idea for the Business of Safety mini series to run on Safeonomics. So I'm Scott Cuthbert, co-founder of Safeopedia and Safety Connect. This is the Safeonomics podcast, and like I say, Dorothy's joining again today to co-host, kind of lead the conversation. And and if you missed the last episode, definitely encourage you to maybe pause and go back and listen to that one. But Dorothy's a innovator in the healthcare technologies and patient-centered care. She's strategic leader in clinical operations. And like I mentioned, we've been collaborating on and off for a few years now. And when we were brainstorming the idea for the mini series, Dorothy said we have to have Chris Porter come on the episode. So I'm going to turn it over to Dorothy to introduce our special guest and get the conversation set up.
Yeah, and thank you, Scott. And I'm really excited to do this. Will be the second of a three-part series, really focusing on the business of safety. And for me, coming from first the clinical world, treating patients, and then moving into the business world, and then ending up connecting with the prevention and safety world, what I found was the interesting components associated with each. And I have had the privilege of getting to know Chris Porter, who is going to be our guest for the second installment of this mini series. And I'm so excited about the conversation today. And so Chris is the senior assistant. I have to read it because it's a long title here. So
Yeah.
Chris is the senior assistant business manager for the IBEW Local 47 in California. And so the goal here is to kind of really dig into the union viewpoints as it relates to safety. So I'm super excited for the conversation. Welcome, Chris. And let's just start off with you just introducing yourself to the listeners.
Yeah. Like you said, my title is fairly long.
I think it's awesome.
I what I serve as is the political director, safety, principal safety officer at the local. We're considered a utility local in the IBEW. Our jurisdiction is half of the state of California, two counties in Nevada, and three counties in Arizona. That is our jurisdiction is pretty wide,
Large.
large, yes. And our members are represented at the electrical corporations, one of them being Southern California Edison, which is the second largest in territory in the United States. We also have municipal utilities, or city utilities, the city of Long Beach, which has gas and water, and city of Colton, Banning, and the city of Anaheim, who have electrical infrastructure, also gas and water.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've been there at the local for about 16 years. Before that, by trade, I'm a journeyman lineman. Very proud of that. And I worked at a utility for 21 years as a journeyman lineman.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, thank you for doing
Yeah.
that first, obviously.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about and we think about the business of safety, can you share a little bit about how you, either your job specifically or the union really connects with the businesses that you connect with? Like, how does that actually work? I think that would be really interesting for our listeners.
So, in three, specific paths. Number one, I sit on three state advisory boards. One in California, a wildfire safety advisory board, which answers to a new agency within our California Natural Resources Agency. We provide comments and guiding recommendations to the electrical corporations on how to deal with wildfire risk profile. I also sit on a Cal OSHA advisory board for general construction and electrical construction. I also sit on the advisory board for the Occupational Safety Health Board also for most regs. In that, we also, as a union with our represented utilities, I sit on most of their safety committees and have a direct relationship with their safety managers, their chief safety officers, and we sit on their safety manual boards. I keep saying we, but it's me. And in that we try to have a very collaborative relationship and identify that we need to move beyond just rules and tools, more in the behavioral area and leverage technology where we can and leverage the role modeling concept. And so that, like I said, it happened. I've been in that role for about that specific role for about 11 years.
Nice. And if you were, you are going to be hopefully speaking to a lot of listeners who are safety managers. What do you wish that they knew about working with people in your role or unions in general?
That safety is our number one priority. It can be obscured by us negotiating contracts and looking for wages, but really our number one goal is a safe work environment and safe behavior of our members. And that we are open to more collaboration than is truly publicly known. We were willing and are willing to reach out and facilitate implementation of new programs, reinforcement of new programs, and even introduction of new technology that
Yeah.
we have, that we come across that they're not aware of.
Scott, I've been hugging the questions. Do
Yeah,
you have
no.
one that you want to ask?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great line of questioning and sharing, because I do think that I have my background's primarily construction, and so obviously, unionized environments, and I know historically when they look at performance of projects, that usually union supplied projects are safer, better stats, better outcomes than than some of the non-union projects. So definitely can support your share about how safety is the first and foremost. But there are those clashes a little bit, with the workers and management and the safety cop perception that's out there, and I know that's changing. But maybe, not to deviate too much from the original question, but, have you seen the culture shift? Is that mentality changing a little bit on the union side?
So it is, and I think that perception is from the rank and file, right? They don't want to be the safety cop, and is it really important to most of the employers?
Right.
With 4 of our employers, we have behavioral based safety programs. We have a craft-driven safety program at Southern California Edison, where the rank and file lead. They handle safety incidents. We also have a dedicated safety advocate program internally to our contractors, uh, where we train them. We have CISM training, critical incident stress management training, that we offer to all employers. We take our members on our own dime. We train them, because mental health is an extremely important issue today. We see more drug use. We have a number of a rise in the number of suicides, and that affects the work environment and the safety. We have a number of programs that we offer again to our employers to help employees identify um, elevated risk profiles that normally we wouldn't think about, right? On the ground level is probably 0 to 1% risk profile. The moment you get in an elevated position, whether it's flat or not, it's being able to identify that now you're in a danger and you need to conduct yourself in a way that mitigates that. Um, there is still, with all of that, a resistance. And that comes down to culture, right? Um, and we're trying to really engage safety managers, chief safety officers, whether it be VPs or directors, and tackling that. Um, right? Predictable behavior creates predictable outcomes, and there's science behind this. Um, other than rules and tools.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of different things there. I'm curious,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of want to dig into a couple different areas. Um, and I'll go kind of in reverse order. I'm curious your viewpoint on, we hear a lot about, not just in the energy industry, but construction industry, a lot of different um, more heavy labor industries that tend to be more unionized, that overall the drug use and the mental health issues are seeming to grow. Does the union have any viewpoint as to why they believe that's the case? Have they done any studies, or do you guys have any viewpoints on that? Um, because I think that it's something that the entire safety industry is trying to kind of wrap their arms around at this point in time.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And that helps me lead into what we've done in the last 18 months, right? We've identified that COVID didn't help us.
Mhm.
Didn't help us. We were already becoming a fractured society. Technology, smartphones. If I could, if I can go back to 1997 and find the group of individuals who made that little rectangular box so ubiquitous and our focus, it we don't have connection anymore. So we're not speaking the same tribal language and getting across the message that we care, um, that they're important, that we validate them. And so we're trying to figure out how we create a sustainable peer-to-peer program. We've started that. Uh, SISM training is another way that we're trying to do that, because what seems like a small incident can affect individuals in a manner that we're unaware of, and it's long lasting, and we're trying to get ahead of that, right? 48 hours from any incident, a close call. Um, Having been a lineman for many years, I've been in a flash, uh, and that's a scary thing. And if a SISM team would have come to my yard and talk to me about it, and I could have probably data dumped, I probably would have fared better over time. uh, so those are the things that we're looking at doing, and reacquainting individuals with being really nosy, right? That's a good community.
Yeah.
Asking questions and literally meaning, how are you doing? So it is something that we're trying to get our arms around, and but definitely peer-to-peer interaction.
So you've rolled out, they sound like they might be newer programs for you.
Yes, we've
How are they being how are they being accepted, the new programs that you have? Have you gotten any early feedback on them?
Yes. So we just had, we have a fairly large, what we call safety rep, union safety rep and stewards conference. We have it at a resort, and we'll have over 400 of our safety representatives and stewards come in. And overwhelmingly, they are encouraged and happy that we have started this. And we have people knocking down the door. We have training that's even scheduled in September, October. We offer a certificated program that it's over 3 days of training.
Nice.
So, and yeah, and we're looking to put on more classes to educate the membership.
And so, do you find now that you guys are delving into this mental health side and it seems to be really connecting with the businesses, that does that help them view you differently when it comes to the safety side as well now?
I think so. They see a partner, an actual partner who is not just involved, but it's the number one priority for us. And now they're making it a high priority for themselves. Um, Sometimes, the bottom line does get in the way, and it isn't, from head to toe the main priority, but our I think our energy is bringing them to the realization they have to focus, and again, not alone, and we don't believe that it's their entire responsibility. You have a partner who's willing and has resources to help out.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm hearing in there as well, and kind of, uh, flashing back to being in the field a little bit, and just the 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 programs, the workers, and the safety officers, safety managers, getting people on board by collaborating. Obviously, some of the clashes that I've witnessed in the past is when there's a super experienced trade person, and there's someone who's relatively new on site, with the safety hat on, telling them what the procedures need to look like, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, hey, I've been here for 30 years. I don't need somebody new on site, coming to tell me how to be safe. But if it's a collaborative, engaging with the workforce and getting them to provide that experience and knowledge and insight and kind of build that program together, is that kind of a suggestion that I was hearing?
Yes, we do that. It's impactful to have when you want to influence the 30-year employee, right,
Yeah.
or journeyman lineman or equipment operator. It's nice to have a 30-year guy standing next to him and going, "Hey, this is for us." This work readiness programs, which actually are catching on with the rank and file. It took a number of long in the tooth, myself being one of them, uh, going, "Hey, I'm participating. I need you to participate with me."
Right.
Right? That's the role modeling that we weren't leveraging completely. Right? More than, and you probably had the same experience also, is I told them I keep
Right.
handing them the paper, but it's impactful to have a role model, someone that you respect, someone who's competent, right,
Right.
to be right next to you to lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And to see those suggestions, uh, being implemented as well, right? I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the point as well.
And you kind of, and I love that this whole, I really like the idea that the more programs that you're putting in place, and especially going to the mental health side, maybe influences people to be open more to the physical safety side and things like that, which makes sense to me because people always use the old adage of, people want to know how much you care about them before they're going to lean in. And it's
Hmm.
kind of this natural way for that I think is smart for the unions to, your union specifically, to lean into, to almost have that secondary push to help people understand how you can be helpful in the other areas. And you had mentioned kind of in those other areas. I wrote them down because I was like, oh, this is fascinating that you do facilitation, you do reinforcement, and sometimes you can actually introduce technology. Would you be able to go kind of into each one of those a little bit deeper? Like tell me a little bit about like how you guys do facilitation, and if people need reinforcement, what do you guys do with that as well?
So at a number of our employers, we have, and I mentioned it earlier, what we call craft-driven safety programs. Um, so in that, we can identify behavior or incidents that need to be examined or investigated, and that's led by our local union. We choose individuals that are well respected, that uh, are what we would call true journeymen in the field or the classification, and they examine, the behavior. They examine, whether or not it's systemic to the organization, whether or not it's systemic to long-term behavior that's been accepted, and we bring individuals in and we try to coach from there. Uh, from that, how we create reinforcement and a sustainable reinforcement is we have follow-up sessions with those individuals and we track them, um, checking in periodically, not in a negative manner, but in always encouraging, always trying to motivate individuals to take the new behavior and have it stick. Uh, we're trying to create operant behavior that we can rely on. Uh,
Hmm.
and that's that for us has worked. And I think a number of perceptions of what we do as a union is we go in and we yell and we scream, or we invite them in and we pass drinks around and we tell them that, hey, we bamboozled them one more time. it it's 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 devastating to us to see the effects of our members being injured, harmed, or even killed. Uh, we follow that family for a long time, trying to get them to transition into the new, their new normal. So we would love to have a 30-year to 40-year employee of one of our main employers retire healthy, safe
Yeah.
and a good mental state. So it's important to us.
When you are engaging, because it sounds like you do engage with your members quite often, how then, and that's got to be hopefully seen as maybe an asset or a help from safety leaders who maybe have a lot of responsibilities that they're managing themselves. What does the communication look like when you're dealing with your members in either the reinforcement or the facilitation back to the safety leaders that are connected to those businesses?
So it's a lot easier for us to understand what issues are because there's literally I employ one or two other business agents to help me, so it's three altogether. Different from a larger employer who I have to go through 175 people to get the same message. However, I have a direct line to either their VP of safety or their director of safety. I have their personal uh, uh, phone numbers. I set up uh, evening meetings, right? So away from each one's organization, you start to become the representative of that organization in an office. We go out to lunch, dinner, or we meet at a park and we sit down and we have a brown bag and we start to discuss how do we move forward and change outcomes. Uh, so it it's not 100%. uh,
Hmm.
uh, um, I don't know how to say it. It's not 100% of our employers aren't on board, but a large majority within the last 2 years have embraced the outreach.
Yeah. And maybe digging into that a little bit, Dorothy, if I can jump in too, because we are on Safeonomics, right? So it is about the economics of safety, helping safety professionals understand how to talk the language of business and justify investing in safety, to their organizations. Again, I'm mentioned my background, and I know like the Construction Industry Institute have done a number of studies, and I think at this point in time we can all agree that a safe work environment is a profitable work environment, and
Yes.
really leads to financial success within an organization. Are there any of those examples that you can think back on that or conversations rather that you're having with these organizations that where you got together, collaborated, and helped focus on not just safety but improving the productivity of the organization at the same time?
Yeah, currently right now we're having those conversations with Southern California Edison, and the state of California electrical rates are astronomical. Matter of fact, it is the big push of the state legislature to create an environment of affordability for ratepayers. Um, the we believe, and we've had these conversations with the Southern California Edison, that a safe work environment is a effective and efficient but cost-effective environment, right? Uh, it's indexing on the idea of operant behavior, right? That's predictable, creates predictable outcomes, which controls cost. Um, uh, Workers' comp injuries are expensive. Disability injuries that ultimately somehow the work environment contributes to uh, is expensive. Um, and to create programs and reinforcing behavior that provides them with a cost-effective product and a workforce that contributes more than it takes is a real conversation we're trying to have. Um, uh, we try to get them to index again on looking at small incidents that don't cause injuries, but ultimately reveal unsafe work practices. Uh, but it's a cost, right? Vehicle incidents are a cost. Uh, uh, the issues with supply chain management and getting material is a cost. And being able to effectively order and to deploy the right amount of material in the field is economics. And so looking at it holistically, safe creates a manageable bottom line.
Yeah.
When you think about, do you have another one, Scott?
No, that's good.
I was going to take kind of where, Chris, you were just at with the economics of it and go a little bit more into the data and analytics and technology side of it, which we haven't really touched on yet. Are there, starting with like data and analytics, are there certain metrics that you guys really, as a union, want to review and assess and study that help you manage your members, or at least, or the things that you look at when you're considering the different environments that the union members are in when they're with their different employers, that then you have discussions with the safety managers about?
Yeah, so a lot of in the utility industry, there's been a push for quite some time for hours of service, amount of hours that they work, the amount of hours that there are breaks. Um, it is a hodgepodge of policies and implementation of those policies, and we're interested in those numbers because we see that 9 times out of 10 they're not effectively managed. They're managing to uh, 24 and 8 right? Working 24 hours and then a minimum of an 8-hour break, and then they're back on, especially in the utility industry in California. It's power 24/7. In other states, that's not an issue. Weather keeps that from happening.
Yeah.
uh, so it's a real thing, driving and fatigue. We like to see numbers from them, not just DART rate or significant injury rates, but all incident rates to be tracked. Uh, those are real indicators of what's happening. Um, are trying to let them understand that the lack of negative consequence leads us to believe we're doing well. But if we track every incident, every close call, everything that can be reported, um, then that tells us what's out there and what we need to focus in on. But most of our employers only look at the incidents that are negative, right?
Hmm. And then do you have, one of the things that I know I've spent a lot of time on lately is there are more technologies surrounding safety these days than anyone probably even understood, and newer coming forth every day. Does the union have a viewpoint, first of all, just on the different technologies that are out there? Are there any that you guys have already noticed are really helpful as opposed to those that you're kind of like, nah, we're not sure. The jury's still out on certain technologies?
Yeah. So what is coming, and we fight on a regular basis, and I'll qualify why we fight it. Uh, Cameras in cab cameras at outward facing and inward, right? And they're there to monitor drivers' behavior, right? And also to monitor whether or not the drivers that you have no control over are behaving on the road also. Um, Without an effective behavioral modification program, those cameras don't do anything but catch bad behavior, right? And really that's what we're concerned about. Most employers believe that that technology will change the landscape of vehicle incidents, and without a way to address behavior, because that's the root of everything, um, then they're not effective, right? If you're going to put a constant supervisor in the right hand seat, then that constant supervisor must provide coaching, must provide alternatives to the behavior that's unacceptable. Um, Other technology that we are not resistant to are biometric monitoring for heat and stress related injuries, um, overall hydration. Um, uh, there are a number of uh, sister crafts that I've been to a couple of uh, conferences with that are promoting that in the steel industry. There were a number of steel plants, one in California, California Steel, that reduce their injury rate, heat injury rate, by over 75% by being able to monitor their employees' physical health during work hours. Completely anonymous. I mean, of course, once you check them out, the supervisor knows who who the individual or the worker is, but can monitor them. The data is only saved for a couple of weeks, but
Hmm.
once they see an alert or lack of movement, there could be an injury on the floor, and they could address it a lot quicker than they would have in the past. And 75% of their heat injuries vanished. And now it went from a little weary of a workforce of that new technology to they embrace it.
Yeah. What about, I know, especially from the industry that you're in energy, there are some really interesting technologies in lone worker technology, like
Yes.
those that just are really on, for those that might not be aware, it's different types of technologies that a person puts on when they might be out in a wooded area by themselves or with very few other people, that begins to demonstrate some indicators if that person is immobile or, can't, almost like a, some of them I've heard of, it's a bad analogy probably, but a life alert sort of, that you might have if they are in trouble. What's the viewpoint on that type of technology, specifically in the energy industry?
Yeah. So currently, right now, and we are talking with two large employers that want to deploy basically what you described, and it is to monitor their heart rate, their a number of other biometric measurements uh, to measure their stress, but
Mhm,
also and also the lack of movement, right?
mhm,
Also sudden stops, right? And if they're driving in a very wooded area where the right of way hasn't been well maintained, we've had a number of rollovers. We've had two individuals die from a rollover over a canyon. Um, and so in that, it sends out an alert and a location. Um, we're talking to those employers about how that data will be collected,
mhm.
and how long will it be stored. That's from our membership being a bit weary of, are they watching me, or what are the consequences of me, creating an alert. And we're not totally resistant. Again, it's the tenets of the program. What is it intended to do? How will it be managed?
Yeah.
um, how often will they be monitored?
I like the idea of what you're talking about, that, as with any new technology, there's the, and I would argue there might be some, for lack of a better word, like a hangover from COVID, of all of a sudden people put into place these distance metric technologies that were monitoring everyone and making sure that they stayed apart from each other. And come to find out, and there might have been even some really real consequences for those individuals. And that particular technology, I don't even know how useful it was in retrospect, because now they're questioning all of that. Not that it wasn't, but people just don't know. Compared to the mindset that I think it created in people to be very wary of all technologies, where some technologies can be useful. But to your point, I like that, what I hear you saying is that the unions aren't resistant to all technologies, as long as, what data are you collecting? What do
Mhm.
you intend to do with that data? And if there needs to be a change of behavior, do you have the follow-up programs already in place to do that? And if not, what's the value of the program at all? And I think that just for safety, people who are maybe considering technologies, those 3 points, if I heard you correctly, I think give them a little bit of a blueprint of how they need to be thinking about what they need to come to you with if they're considering putting a technology in place. Do I have that right, or am I
Yes,
off on
yes.
that at all?
It's technology should reinforce and enhance any established program to change or to ensure the right outcome. That's
Mhm.
it. And if this is going to be, and I'm going to go into the union world, a subject of bargaining, right? Then that's what you should come with. Um, but if it's just to be technology to watch and to catch, um, that's not effective. You can hire 100 supervisors to watch behavior, but if you're not changing it effectively, it doesn't matter. It's just another tool Um, uh, in most businesses now, we have to tell our members this. Most businesses have cameras around every brick and mortar
Yeah.
location you report to. So your expectation of privacy doesn't exist, right? It just doesn't.
Yeah.
The fact that they don't have a plan or program in place to address behaviors that aren't conducive to safe environments, safe work practices, um, it that's a negative. We really are interested in how technologies enhance, right, effective programs. No different than an exoskeleton, right? Technology. If it isn't utilized properly, then why have it?
Scott, are you,
Yeah.
I see, I generally take as an indicator
Yeah.
if you take yourself off mute that you have a question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and uh, m- m- the two-part question, I guess, for me as I've stumbled through asking the question here, but um, I've been reading some stats. Obviously, AI, is a buzzword and it's getting thrown around in the news a lot. But I read that there was a trend that more younger people are considering the trades because there's more long-term opportunity than maybe as a software developer, as an example, because of AI taking jobs that can be easily replaced in that regard. So I was wondering if you're seeing the trend of more young people, coming out, to the union, and second, just if someone's in, thinking about entering, the trades, what advice would you give them, and what kind of opportunities are there? Um, Again, remember being out on site, and of course, everyone in the electrical thought that they were the cream of the crop when it came to unions. They're the tradesmen who can do math. Was
Yeah.
the joke, on the job site. So what, yeah, are you seeing that trend? And then what suggestions and opportunities could people expect?
Yeah. So yes, we're I think in all of the United States, we're seeing this. So we have a extremely seasoned workforce, long-term journeyman, and we have a number of classifications. But it is an older workforce, very few in the middle, and we are having an influx of young men and women uh, exploring getting into basically the utility industry. Um, they aren't aware of really what is involved, um, and the amount of training necessary to be competent, uh, and the number of hours that are that you have to devote to actually make it through an apprenticeship. And there are a number of apprenticeships that we have, and we have in the utility industry, we have arborists that do line clearance, basically trees and brush. Um, that it isn't a show up on at 9 o'clock, leave at 5. It's intense. Um, but in that, it's also we're looking to train people that are focused on doing it safely and the right way. And it is lucrative. Uh, it is a career you can retire from quite well, but it takes a lot of commitment, and that's a real disconnect. How we're trying to train both of them, both both disciplines, right? To be a effective and efficient and deliver a quality product, but number one, you need to be safe.
Right.
Yeah.
So rewarding profession, but probably more work than you
Yeah.
realize coming into the profession.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound uh, too exaggerated, but in as a journeyman lineman, it's one second of of lack of focus, you can lose your life.
Yeah.
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 Do you find, because it's interesting that you have kind of the people that have very seasoned, very trained, been there for a long time, and then you have this younger group. Um, do the younger crowd, are they more interested in the technology side of it, whereas the older group might be like, look, I've got this, I know what I'm doing. Do you see a disconnect that way as well between the two groups of people?
Yes. Yes. Old school, yes. Technology is the tools that we currently have now that are everywhere, ubiquitous, have been brought in by a younger generation.
Mhm.
If it were up to my generation, we'd still be using a bit and a brace to drill holes. Uh,
Yeah.
it it was reliable. But yes, technology and a lot of apps are out
Mhm.
there. They will adopt a lot of the biometric monitors a lot sooner than my generation of linemen will. Uh, and they're less resistant to something being introduced than, the complaints come from the older generation.
Yeah. Do you find that then, I'm curious, does the union see that almost as an opportunity to say we can use the younger people to help kind of almost be the first steps of the technology and then maybe bring that to our seasoned individuals? But conversely, we can use our seasoned individuals to help the younger individuals understand the complexities of the not the work itself and the accuracy and the skill levels that they need to have. It's almost like they each have something that the other needs. And I'm curious if the union is leaning into that at all, or is it just so new that they are still evaluating the situation that they find themselves in, seeing both these types of individuals in their environment now?
So the individuals that we choose to be role models, to role model behavior, are usually older, seasoned individuals. We haven't had success with in trying to introduce something throughout the entire workforce from the newer, younger workforce. It usually sticks when we have, and in the trades, it's usually the older ones who teach you the trade, right? There's an
Mhm.
apprenticeship and there's academic work, but really you learn the trade in the field doing the work, and you are reliant on that long tenured workforce. And if we can get them to adopt holistically the new technology, then we'll be able to implement it easily with the younger group. Um, and again, that's what their life is now.
Mhm.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't have any social media. I don't.
That's okay.
Yeah. I don't have a TikTok. I don't have any of that. To be honest, I wouldn't even know how to work it or download the app.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You
Better
never
better
know.
off for it.
That's
Yeah.
right, you're better off for it. But you never know. Um, Scott, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask?
No, I think that the great discussion today, I think, provided some insight on how safety professionals can improve that collaboration, communication, with the workforce, and interested to see where the trends go, in the future with more younger people considering trades, because I know, like you mentioned, it's a bit of a bubble right now. I mean,
Yeah.
across the board, I think all the trades where we're at risk of losing so much knowledge and so much experience, and it's reassuring to hear that we've potentially got some replacements coming to help again learn from those seasoned workers and carry on those traditions, and we wouldn't be the countries we are if it wasn't for the trades. I mean, they built everything. So it's good to hear that that's trend is turning around.
And hopefully with whatever, political era we're in, I believe that we have a moment that we're going to reinvest in this country and start building it out again. There's a lot of infrastructure work that must be done, and it doesn't matter who's politically leading this country. It just must be done, and it's been a while since we've done that, and we're going to have to address it at some point. And it's great to be a college graduate. It's great to have a master's in business, but the reality is a wrench turner is a valuable person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and Chris, thank you so much for your time. I think that the listeners are going to get a lot from this conversation because like you said, it's unique to get your viewpoint. You mentioned earlier that you guys do some mental health training programs. Is that something that would you be willing to share if people were interested in looking into that a little bit more, where they might go to maybe see if they could participate and learn through one of your programs? Or is that
Um,
very
Yes, and so my business manager's wife runs that, and it's Union Care Solutions that puts the classes on. She provides all the materials for the CISM certification and awareness. Um, it's again, we saw a need. In the last couple of years, we have seen like I said, a dramatic rise in suicides, drug overdoses, um, uh, deaths from drug use, and just individuals, not again suicides, but just giving up on you know interacting with society.
yeah,
So we thought it was extremely important to develop something and get out there.
perfect. Well, thank you for saying what it is and how they connect to it. So hopefully if the
Yeah.
listeners have an interest, they can go ahead and reach out and put
Yes.
something like that in place. But thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Love the conversation. And look forward to getting this out in front of our listeners. So we appreciate it so much.
Yeah, I thank you guys for the opportunity to allow us to express, how we interact in the world of safety with like you said, the economic side, the employers out there, the corporations. Uh, it is important to us, and for every single one of the other trades and the building trades, it is safety is number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so
Well said.
much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.